So as you know from my previous video, setting gives a story time and place. And setting also informs the reader where the character came from and what motivates the character in the story. So it's setting plus character plus conflict equals plot. Because the setting is where the character came from, it sets the time and place of the story. Therefore, it informs the reader why the character acts the way he does. And then once you know that, then you know what fatal flaws the character has, which then becomes the conflict of the story structure. And then you combine all of that together, and that becomes the plot of the story, where you have the character go on his life journey and evolve within the story. Now, how can you use this information for your writing journal? Well, in your writing journal, you can write short stories where setting plays a dominant role in your story. So here's some examples of how you can use setting. And so showing the setting in your story is just as important as creating convincing characters. Character itself is a product of place and culture. So the interplay of character and setting of both contributes to your story's meaning and significance. Elizabeth Bowen's maxim warns of the kind of floundering and conclusion which arises without a firm grounding in place. In other words, if you write a story that does not have a firm setting and place, then your story will flounder. So here are some examples. So this video will go over different writing exercises, prompts that you can write in your reading response journal. Remember, all of these reading response journal activities are outside of your class to motivate you to write after your introduction of literature class is over. So here are some activities that you can write that involve setting. So here you would write, make a list of objects you remember from your childhood home. Don't use any particular order or many adjectives. Don't censor yourself. Something seemingly unimportant may evoke strong impressions. Read through your list and circle the objects that evoke the strongest feelings and memories of events. So basically, close your eyes and think about what childhood objects could help you write a story. Now, the most famous there's a famous French writer known as Marcel Proust, and he held up a French cookie known as La Madeleine, and he looked at the cookie, and the smell of the cookie, the way it looked, evoked his childhood memories. And so what object evokes childhood memories? Is it a teddy bear? Is it a toy? Is it a diary that you kept as a child? So you could go to your attic and take out all the objects that remind you of your childhood. Look at them and then sit with your journal and write down the word teddy bear and then write a story about it. Or you see a baby blanket, and then you could write a story about the baby blanket. It doesn't even have to be about you. It could be about a relative. Because I had a cousin who had a baby blanket until he was 15 years old. And in every room of the house, he had a different baby blanket. So for me, when I see a baby blanket, that's the story I would go to. So take out an object and write a story about it. What memories do these objects evoke? So that's activity number one. So when you take out these objects, what are these events? So the objects themselves serve as the setting of the story. In other words, it anchors the story in time and place. The teddy bear anchors the story in a time when you were a childhood, so that when you were a kid, so that's time. Place would be your childhood home. So even childhood objects can anchor a story in time and place like a setting. Do you see a story building there? In other words, when you look at the object, do you feel a story coming on? And when you do feel the story coming on, write it down in your reading response journal. Now write a paragraph describing one of these events. So when you look at the object, what events happened? Do you see a story taking place? What exactly happened when you look at that object? What memories do these objects evoke? Don't use overly sentimental language. Just write an ordinary story. Just like I said when I said, oh, I looked at the baby blanket, and then there's a baby blanket in every room. And then I could easily write a story with dialogue about the baby blanket. Here, example. In the space beneath the staircase, I find my old dog's house with his shaggy hairs have caught in the rough edges of the wood planks. Although the dog is long gone, if you don't spell out the emotional significance of the doghouse, you create poignancy without sentimentality. That means, so here you have somebody who has a doghouse, but the dog who used to live in that doghouse have long passed away. But when you look at that object, when you look at that doghouse, it evokes memories of that dog. So there you have a story coming on. And so that doghouse, once again, anchors the story in time and place. Just like with Marcel Proust at the beginning of his story, À la recherche du temps perdu. I can't remember how to say that in English. But so what is that doghouse? What story does it evoke? And so here you have click on setting as an antagonist. So here you have, and sometimes a setting can also act against the reader. Another one is write a scene in which a character is unhappy in his or her surroundings. For example, he or she might be shy, frightened, disgusted, trapped, or homesick. So let's say that you go to a party. The setting is a disco party or a dance party, but this person doesn't like to dance. He was dragged there by his partner. So he doesn't, so the setting is a setting that a shy person at a dance club, or a shy person dancing, but he's a wallflower. So that can be a story, a shy person. So here you have a setting used as an antagonist. In other words, the setting is the opposing force. So you place your character in a setting that makes the character uncomfortable. Then you write a story about, well, why does this setting make the character uncomfortable? Frightened. Okay, so the character can be in a haunted house. So the setting is a haunted house, and then the character is frightened. So there you would make a good horror story. Here you have a character inside some place that's disgusting. So here you have a character that's in somebody's house where someone is so messy, it's a hoarder, and somebody never cleans up, has underwear on all over the place. You have a story there, okay? So I had a college roommate who kept her side of the room was really disgusting. Okay, so that's a setting that disgusts then you could have trapped. Okay, so here you have a setting where the car has gone over the bridge, and then the person is trapped inside. So the car hanging over the bridge, or the car going over the bridge, that's a setting that anchors the story in time and place. And so here the character feels trapped inside the car. So how will she be rescued? So that's a story. And homesick. So you have a character in college, and she misses her parents. She misses her country. So let's say she's a foreign student, and she's from France, and she's in America to go to college, and then she misses her parents. She misses her mother's home-cooked French meals, because here in the dorm, all they serve are hot dogs, and they don't taste that good. So here you have a setting in which the character is unhappy, and so you can use the setting as the antagonist. Right? So show the feelings through descriptions of the place, rather than naming the feelings. So here you have examples of stories where setting is a big element of the story and the plot. Write a scene in which two characters are quarreling about the setting. One wants to stay and the other wants to leave. Okay, so here you have another one in which the setting is the antagonist. But instead of having one character uncomfortable in the setting, you have two characters uncomfortable in a setting. And so here you can have a rowdy bar. And so here you have one character saying, I don't feel safe. There's too many drunk people. We should go home right away. No, don't worry. I'll drive you home. I'll keep you safe. Let's keep on drinking. It's Friday night, happy hour. So here you have two characters in a rowdy bar, and they're arguing about one wants to leave and the other wants to stay. Disney World. One is tired. Oh, come on. How can you believe in all these fairy tales? Let's go home. And the other one says, don't be such a Scrooge humbug. Why don't you just stay in Disneyland and you'll get into the flow of it. You'll love it. I'll show you. A deserted beach. Oh, it's getting really cold outside and the sun has set. Let's go home. Oh, come on. Let's camp out on the beach. It'll be lots of fun. And we get to see, if we camp out, then in the morning we get to see the sun come back up. But we don't have enough stuff in our car and stuff like that. So you could have a deserted beach. Zoo. Oh, wow, these animals really smell. I don't think we should stay at the zoo. The other one would say, oh, no, you should, let's spend the day here. Not all the animals stink. It's only the gorillas that stink. The other animals have better hygiene, and you'll really enjoy watching the giraffes eat the leaves. So that would be two people arguing about coming and going at a zoo. A secondhand bookshop. Oh, going to a bookstore is so boring. Let's go to the carnival. It's right down the block. Oh, come on, you should learn to read more. You can actually, reading takes you to another time and place. And so let's stay in the secondhand bookshop. Let's read some books and buy some books here. So here you have two people arguing about coming or going in a bookshop. A school classroom. Oh, that's easy. That's an easy one. You could have two little kids, and one kid goes, "Oh, let's stay after school and talk with the teacher. Mrs. Smith is really nice, and she gives us candy at the end of the." And the other one goes, "No, I want to go recess. Why do you want to stay in school any longer than you have to?" So here you have two little kids arguing about coming or going in a school classroom. Expensive hotel. Oh my God. One character will say, "I'm running out of money. I think we should go to a cheaper hotel." And then the other one goes, "Oh, come on, the cheaper hotel has a lot of bums or has a lot of, it stinks, and they don't clean their sheets every day. But here in the expensive hotel, they have a really nice swimming pool." And the other one says, "I can't stay. I'm broke. I'm going to head to the other hotel. You stay at your expensive hotel if you want. We can meet at the restaurant tomorrow." So here you have two different characters arguing about, one wants to stay in an expensive hotel, the other wants to stay in an inexpensive hotel. An alien spaceship. Okay, this could be like Star Trek, in which the captain says, "We should go down to the planet to explore the aliens." And then then Spock says, no, we can't, well, not Spock, but the science officer says, "We can't go down there until we make sure that the environment, until we know it's safe." So here you have alien spaceship. So here you have a setting that acts as an antagonist for 4 stories. So click on setting. So here you would write one paragraph describing a place where you have worked. Describe how the people use their tools, machines, or other equipment. Try to engage the senses as shown in the Richard. Well, anyway, so here you can write about where you work. And so for me, I once worked at Kinko's, and of course it's now long ago closed. And at that time, I worked as a computer specialist, where I taught people how to use email, how to upload and download documents. And so here you could write a lot of, and the computers at that time, many people didn't know how to use a computer. And this was a long time ago, obviously. Nowadays, everybody does it. This also predates cell phones, okay? So people would come to Kinko's in order to borrow a computer because they were away from home, or they needed a computer to send a fast email. So they would come to the shop and see. And also another thing about setting, it dates your story. Notice how people don't go to a store anymore to use a computer. And so that part of Kinko's, that's why Kinko's no longer, exists. So here you write a paragraph describing a place where you have worked. Or I could describe the classroom where I used to work. My French professor, had a beautiful French classroom filled with French posters. And then when she would cook French foods, and she would bring in French foods from her home, and you could smell the quiche Lorraine in the air. And it was because of her, my professor, French professor, that I decided to major in French when I was in college. So here you can write a paragraph describing a place where you have worked, describing the people, the machines. And the interesting thing about gadgets, and another thing about setting, when I say that it anchors the story in time and place. So I said that in those days, people came to the computer in order to access the internet at the store. Of course, nowadays, all you got to do is go to your phone and access your internet. You go to your phone to email. So your setting anchors your story in time and place. Because I worked at Kinko's in the 1990s, before cell phones. Think about how mood and circumstances affect perception. In 250 words, describe a supermarket visited by a woman who has just received a promotion at work. Now, in another 250 words, write about the supermarket from the perspective of the same woman who has just ended a love affair. Okay, so here is all about how our moods color how we feel about our surroundings. If we just ended a love affair, we just got fired, and we go outside, somehow the flowers look like they're wilting. The sky, even though it's bright blue, looks like it's cloudy. So for the woman who just ended her love affair, she enters a supermarket, all the food looks spoiled. The cashiers are out to get her. She's like totally paranoid. All the other customers are also cutting in front of the line, and she's yelling at them, "You're cutting in front of the line, move it!" Okay. Now think about the same supermarket, but this woman has just received a promotion at work. She looks at all of the food and she goes, "I can buy anything. I can afford all this food. I'm going to buy this food, this food, this food. I'm going to make a steak." And so here, and all the people look so nice. They're out here to help me buy my food. Okay, so perception is everything. So you can write a story about how your perception or your mood colors how you perceive the setting. List 6 objects found in a character bedroom, office, garage, or other semi-private space. Name them. So here, you would picture your character's bedroom. You picture your character's private space. What does it look like? So if I picture a geek, okay, so here you have a geek. What does a geek's bedroom look like? Well, a geek's bedroom would have a computer, it would have a TV, it would have a computer with 5 screens and a game chair, and he spends all day playing games. He would have plants, books, and then if I have someone who's an athlete, okay, so my character is an athlete, okay, maybe a small laptop computer. He doesn't like to spend too much time in one place. Lots of sports equipment, baseball bat, baseball gloves, all kinds of sports equipment, and of course posters of his favorite athletes. Okay, so here you would list so different characters will have different setting, different surroundings. Honoré de Balzac used to think that your surroundings or your setting depicts or describes who you are. If you're a grouchy man, your surroundings is filthy and dirty and depressing. If you're a happy, organized character, then your surroundings, you're you're a neatnik. Okay, everything is in its place. Not one dust, no dust on any of the furniture. And so, your personality equals your setting, according to Honoré de Balzac. And he says that's how you write a really good story. And here I wrote about, here you could have inside the bedroom of your character, you could have plants, books, magazines, clothes, snacks, photographs, or garbage. Okay, garbage everywhere. So you got the slob. Think about The Odd Couple. And here you have Oscar Madison. I think that was the name of the character, who was the slob. And then Felix Unger, who was so neat. And both of them lived in the same apartment. But Felix Unger's bedroom was so neat. He even had his socks organized by color-coded socks and stuff like that. Meanwhile, if you go into Oscar Madison, he's the slob. You could look it up, The Odd Couple by Tony Randall and Jack Klugman. I'm not sure if it's on YouTube, but you could try that out. So that's from the 70s. And so Oscar Madison's, that character, the slob, his bedroom would be filled with garbage, and he also eats junk food. So that's enough for. So here is enough exercises about how setting can anchor your story in time and place. And in this video, I showed you some examples of what stories you can write in your reader's journal, which centers around setting. So if you have any questions about this video, feel free to email me anytime.